They threw a party with a champagne tower taller than me. For my sister, of course. I watched from behind the curtain, holding a plastic fork from last year's forgotten cake. No one saw me. They never do. Every year, same script. Fireworks for her, silence for me. But this time, something snapped. When I found out my name was used for a loan I never signed, the silence inside me turned into a scream. This birthday, I won't be invisible. They think I'm the weak one. They're wrong. I'm the storm they never saw coming. The champagne tower glistened like a monument to everything I wasn't. Crystals sparkled, glasses clicked, and laughter echoed through the ballroom like a song I was never invited to dance to. Emily stood center stage in her diamond-studded dress, throwing her head back in effortless laughter, the picture of perfect privilege. Around her, influencers and socialites buzzed like flies around honey, toasting her magnetic energy and unapologetic beauty. I was the MC, not because I wanted to be, but because our mother insisted, "It'll look authentic if you introduce her. A family affair, you know." And I, like I always did, nodded, smiled, and took the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, "please welcome the heart of this family, the light of every room, the incomparable Emily Collins." The crowd erupted, my voice cracked. Emily strutted toward me, arms wide, camera flashes igniting like fireworks behind her. She gave me a cheek kiss that never touched skin and whispered through her gleaming teeth, "Don't mess this up. This is being streamed live." I backed away, faking a smile, swallowed by the stage lights. Then, a flash, a real one, not from the cameras, jerked me back through time. Rain. Cold, relentless rain. My 10th birthday. No candles. No gifts. Just my mother yelling at me to clean up the spilled juice on the floor while my father barked about the electric bill. No one remembered it was my day. I'd waited all morning hoping for a surprise. Instead, I got a mop. I blinked, and I was back in the ballroom, clapping as my sister twirled like a goddess. From the shadows near the bar, I noticed a man watching me. Not Emily, me. His eyes weren't judging. They were soft, curious, almost sorrowful, like he saw something no one else did. He raised a glass slightly, not in cheers, but acknowledgement, then vanished into the crowd. Later that night, back at the house, I found the gift Emily had thoughtfully wrapped for me on the kitchen counter, a picture frame, generic, silver, and scratched. I recognized it immediately. It had once held a photo of our grandparents, but I'd seen it tossed in the trash after Emily redecorated her room. My name was scribbled on a reused gift bag, the tape barely holding. That wasn't the first time. When I was 12, I had painted a portrait of our mother as a surprise. Spent weeks on it, hiding it under my bed, carefully mixing colors until the brush captured the tilt of her smile. Emily found it the day before I planned to give it. She slashed the canvas with scissors, said it looked creepy. "My mother?" She laughed and said, "Oh, honey, don't be so sensitive. Emily's just expressing herself. She's an artist, too." That was the day I stopped painting. I had learned early. To exist in this house, I had to erase myself. Keep my voice low, my needs minimal, my presence invisible. They praised me for being self-sufficient, which was just another way of saying they didn't want to be bothered. A distant voice broke through my thoughts. Emily's, loud, laughing, bragging about the new business venture she was planning with Mom and Dad. Something about a consultancy firm and using Amanda's credentials since she has such a clean record. Wait. What? I turned the corner just in time to see her drop a small envelope while fumbling with her phone. She didn't notice. I picked it up. Inside was a letter, typed, formal, and cold. It was an agreement. Amanda Collins will allow her name, professional license, and financial records to be used for the establishment of a family-run consultancy business. She will not require shares or compensation. Her participation will be considered a gift to the family. My signature was forged. I felt the world tilt beneath me. The fake smiles, the recycled gifts, the constant gaslighting. It had all been leading here. I wasn't just forgotten. I was being used. I stood there, envelope in hand, in a house filled with chandeliers and laughter, suddenly feeling like a stranger in my own skin. Someone touched my shoulder. I turned quickly. It was him, the man from the party. He leaned in and said quietly, "You don't deserve this." Then he walked away, leaving 1,000 questions behind and one certainty. This ends now. They called it a family meeting, but it felt more like a courtroom ambush. I sat stiffly on the edge of the leather couch, the one Emily imported from Italy. Mom sat across from me, legs crossed, sipping tea like she was about to conduct a boardroom pitch. Dad, silent as usual, leaned against the fireplace mantel, arms folded. Emily twirled a pen between her fingers, eyes gleaming like she'd already won. "We just want to understand," Mom began, with that sickly sweet tone she always used when she was about to condescend. "Why you're hesitating to help the family." "I'm not hesitating," I said, keeping my voice level. "I'm refusing. I didn't agree to have my name on any business, and I definitely didn't sign anything." Emily scoffed. "You're being dramatic. It's just a formality." "A formality that could land me in prison if anything goes wrong." Mom's smile didn't waver. "Amanda, sweetie, we gave you everything. A roof over your head, support through college. I paid my own tuition." Her smile twitched. "Well, we emotionally supported you." I let out a soft, humorless laugh. "You forgot my birthday for 36 years. Silence. Then, Mom leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "We didn't raise you to be selfish. We didn't bring you into this world so you could turn your back on your family. You were born to help us." I blinked. The words hit harder than I expected. Born to help them, not live, not choose, just serve. Suddenly, the front doorbell rang. Emily glanced toward the hallway. Probably the caterer. We're rebooking the rooftop for my engagement teaser shoot. But it wasn't a caterer. It was the man from the party. This time, he introduced himself. "Ethan Reyes, tax attorney." Emily's face froze. "I believe you're Amanda Collins?" he asked, turning to me. I nodded. "I need to speak with you, privately. Someone filed a report with our office. It concerns financial irregularities involving your name and a certain consultancy business recently registered in your name." Emily stepped in. "She doesn't need to talk to you. She's not in a good state of mind lately. Very emotional." Ethan looked her dead in the eyes. "And you are?" "She's my sister," I said sharply, "and I'll speak with you. Now." We walked outside. My hands shook. Ethan handed me a folder. "There's a pattern," he said. "Your name has been attached to 2 LLCs. Both received tax refunds. Both filed under your license. There's more. Lavish expenses reported as a business development. We're talking events, jewelry, overseas travel." I opened the folder. One receipt alone, $74,000, for a birthday event. Under brand promotion. My name. My credentials. "I didn't approve any of this," I whispered. "We know. That's why I'm here." Later that night, I waited until Emily went out. She left her laptop on the kitchen counter, half closed, humming softly. I hesitated, then opened it. Password was our childhood dog's name, Clover. The moment it unlocked, my stomach twisted. An Excel sheet, color-coded, organized, outlined every expense for Emily's party. Helicopter rental, champagne wall. A performer flown in from Paris. Total, $496,850. At the top, business name, Collins Consultancy. Authorized by Amanda Collins. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. I wasn't just forgotten. I was forged, exploited, erased, and rewritten. I slammed the laptop shut, breathing hard. The next morning, Emily was already ahead of me. I came downstairs to find her and my parents huddled in the sunroom, voices low but sharp. "She's unstable," Emily said. "You've seen it. She's emotional, paranoid. She's obsessed with the past." "She has been acting off," Dad muttered. "We need control," Emily pressed. "Financially. She's a risk. She could destroy us." When I stepped into the room, all three froze. I didn't say a word. Just looked at them. Really looked. They were laying the groundwork to declare me incompetent, to have me removed from my own life. I walked away, not out of weakness, but strategy. That night, unable to sleep, I sat on my bed scrolling through old emails, trying to find anything that might prove my innocence. A thread of something. Instead, I found something else. A message from a sender I didn't recognize. Subject, I know you. Body, I was you once. They did the same to me. Let me help. Attached was a photo, a young woman standing on the same staircase in our house 2 decades ago. Her eyes looked just like mine. Her name was Lauren, the woman in the photo. She looked like me, but older, sharper around the edges, like someone who had bled and healed wrong. We met at a tiny coffee shop on the outskirts of town. She chose the seat in the corner, back to the wall, eyes on the door. Survivors always sit that way. "You're Amanda," she said, sipping black coffee. You have your father's eyes and your mother's ability to pretend nothing ever happened." I didn't speak at first. I just studied her. The tight jaw, the scar just below her left ear, the way her fingers tapped the table like they didn't trust stillness. "I never knew he had another daughter," I finally said. "They erased me before you were old enough to remember." She told me everything. How she had lived in that same house until she was 17. How she had spoken up about the favoritism, the manipulation. How they'd twisted her words, painted her as unstable, violent, a threat. "They kicked me out," she said. "Said I needed help. Told everyone I ran away. I didn't. I was thrown out like a mistake they could delete." I wanted to cry. Not just for her, but for me. Because I saw the mirror now. A perfect replica of a script they'd been rehearsing for years. "You're not crazy, Amanda," she said, reading the tremble in my throat. "You're just waking up." I left that cafe feeling like the ground beneath me had cracked wide open. My reality was no longer just painful. It was constructed, deliberate, rehearsed. I went home and began digging. If they'd lied about her, what else had they buried? That night, I found it. Tucked away in a folder on our family computer, one Emily forgot to log out of. A clinic record. Not mine, not Lauren's, Emily's. Date, 3 years ago. Procedure, termination of pregnancy. Next to it, a scanned letter from our mother to the clinic, threatening legal action if the file was ever made public. The letter was cold, calculating, not a mother's concern, but a PR manager's panic. "We cannot allow this to damage her future," it read. "You will destroy her brand." My hands trembled. It wasn't just lies. It was rot. Deep, ugly rot. And they'd covered it with glitter and gloss and birthday candles. I turned to leave the office, but something caught my eye. A blinking red light. I froze. Hidden in the bookshelf, just above the picture of Emily at her high school graduation, was a small, nearly invisible lens. A camera. It faced directly into my bedroom. My breath left my body. I ripped it from the wall, my hands shaking so hard it dropped to the floor. They'd been watching me, recording me. For how long? I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in the corner of my room with a flashlight, digging through drawers, vents, light fixtures. I found 2 more. One in the lamp, another inside the vent above my bed. By morning, I couldn't breathe in that house. But leaving didn't save me. The next day, I was called into HR at work. There was no ceremony, just cold eyes and an envelope. "Due to concerns over your name being associated with multiple financial irregularities and pending investigations, we have no choice but to terminate your contract effective immediately." They didn't care that I wasn't guilty. They cared about their reputation, just like my family. Within a week, my bank accounts were frozen. My cards stopped working. I couldn't access my savings. Apparently, those accounts were linked to business holdings now under review. I was broke. I slept in my car, parked 2 blocks from the law office where Ethan worked. I didn't want him to see me. No one needed to see me like that. I washed my face with bottled water, changed in the back seat, ate crackers and whatever I could grab from gas stations without looking suspicious. I was surviving. Barely. One night, shivering in my car with a coat wrapped around my knees, I opened the glove compartment to look for an old pen. Something tumbled out. A folded piece of paper. Torn edges. Faded ink, my childhood drawing, the one Emily had destroyed, the one I thought was gone. But it had been taped back together, carefully, lovingly. Lauren had kept it all these years. I stared at it for a long time. It was the only version of me that had ever been saved. A ping broke the silence. My phone buzzed. One new email. No subject, just 2 sentences. I know the truth. If you're ready to hear everything, meet me tomorrow. Bring courage. The email came from a name I hadn't heard in years, Rosa. She'd worked for our family when I was a teenager. Housekeeper, cook, caretaker, and, for a short while, the only adult who ever looked me in the eye and saw a person. She was fired the summer I turned 17. They said she overstepped, became too attached. The real reason? She caught Emily slapping me during a fight and pulled her away. Now, more than a decade later, she'd found me. We met in a library, neutral ground, quiet. Rosa had aged, but her eyes were still warm, still sharp. I never stopped watching, she said. I knew they'd do to you what they did to Lauren. She handed me a flash drive. You need to hear this. That night, sitting cross-legged in the back of my car, I plugged it into my old laptop. A recording crackled to life. Grainy at first, then clear. It was my mother's voice. You have to control the narrative, Emily. If you cry first, they'll believe you. If you raise your voice, they'll think she's aggressive. Use your tears. That's what they're for. My blood ran cold. She's too quiet, my mother continued. Too logical. That's dangerous. You need to overwhelm her. Make her question herself. Another voice, younger, eager, Emily's. What if she fights back? She won't, my mother replied. She wants love too much to risk losing it. I slammed the laptop shut. There it was, proof. It wasn't just dysfunction. It was training, strategy, emotional warfare taught like math and manners, and I had played my part perfectly. Silent, starved for approval, always giving, never asking. Until now. I visited my father's grave the next morning. I hadn't been in years. Not because I hated him, but because I'd never understood him. Now I saw things differently. Rosa had told me the truth. Before he died, he'd tried to transfer a part of the family trust to me. My mother had blocked it. He was sick, dying. She convinced the lawyers he was confused, but he had tried. He had seen me. And that knowledge lit a fire in my chest. Not for revenge, for resurrection. I wouldn't fight like them. I wouldn't lie or manipulate or play the victim. I would expose everything. I reached out to Ethan, gave him everything, the fake contracts, the tax records, the camera footage, the recording from Rosa. This is enough to open a formal investigation, he said, but it'll be ugly, public. I know, I said. That's the point. He nodded. Then we build a case. From the inside out. While Ethan handled the legal side, I turned to the court of public opinion. I created an anonymous blog, The Forgotten Sister. I wrote my story, not all of it, but enough. Enough to shake the mirror for anyone who'd ever been invisible in their own home. The post went viral in 2 days. Hundreds of messages poured in, some from strangers, some from people I knew who'd never dared speak up. Then came the twist I never saw coming. An actress, someone famous, someone I'd admired for years, shared my post. This was my life too, she wrote. They told me I was crazy for remembering. I wasn't. Neither are you. She used the hashtag I'd buried at the end of the post, unsure anyone would even notice it. #Golden Child Syndrome. It exploded. Articles, podcasts, interviews, people began talking. Not about me, specifically, but about families like mine, about the damage no one could see. And that was the win I needed. But the story wasn't finished. Rosa messaged me again. Emily was planning a wedding, a massive, grotesque circus of a celebration, fireworks, private island, Vogue photographer. I saw the guest list. My name wasn't on it. Of course it wasn't. But I planned to attend anyway, uninvited and not empty-handed. The wedding was held at an oceanfront estate, massive, white, dripping in floral excess and polished arrogance. A drone buzzed overhead, capturing slow-motion shots of guests in designer gowns clinking crystal glasses. Everything was curated, staged, and fake, just like them. I walked in unnoticed. All eyes were on the bride, as always. Emily glowed in a custom gown, smiling as though she hadn't stolen identities or manipulated half her life into performance. My mother hovered nearby, directing the caterers like a general preparing for battle. My father stood off to the side, already a shadow of himself. I made my way to the tech station, quiet, tucked behind the lighting panel. Ethan had helped me coordinate this. I had one job. Push play. When Emily stepped up for her speech, mic in hand, all eyes turned to her. She basked in it, soaking up admiration like sunlight. I just want to thank everyone here for celebrating love, family, and truth. The screen behind her flickered. At first, just static. Then, Rosa's voice filled the speakers. You have to control the narrative, Emily. If you cry first, they'll believe you. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Emily froze. The screen now showed receipts, meticulously organized documents detailing business expenses filed fraudulently under my name. 5-star vacations, party invoices, jewelry, luxury cars, all labeled as consulting costs. The final clip played. Emily, during a drunken voice memo to her friend, bragging, I mean, Amanda's so dumb she didn't even know her name was on the company. It's genius. No liability. I'm clean. She screamed then, real and raw. Shut it off. Shut it off now. But it was too late. Guests backed away. Whispers turned into shouting. A woman recording on her phone muttered, Jesus, is this real? And then the authorities arrived. They weren't subtle. 2 agents from the IRS, another from the fraud division. They moved quickly, politely, but with a calm force no one could argue with. Emily was escorted off the stage. My mother ran after them, wailing, This is a misunderstanding. She's innocent. She's under pressure. No one listened. I didn't stay for the cleanup. I walked to the head table, placed a single envelope next to the flower arrangement, and left. Inside that envelope was a letter, written when I was 10, on lined paper with a purple gel pen. It had said, Dear Mom, today is my birthday. I made you a bracelet. I know you're busy with Emily's party, but if you have time, can we maybe have dinner together? I miss you. It had never been opened. I left it sealed. And I walked away in silence, not needing a single soul to see me go. 2 days later, my parents appeared on a daytime talk show, sitting stiffly under studio lights, voices shaking with well-rehearsed grief. We tried our best, my mother sobbed. But the world today, it's broken. The system failed us. My father nodded like a man who had long given up steering the ship. No one teaches you how to parent. There's no manual. The host looked sympathetic. The audience clapped. But online, the backlash burned hot and fast. Under every video of their appearance, thousands of comments piled up. They didn't fail her. They used her. This is textbook narcissistic parenting. I see you, Amanda. We all do. The hashtags surged again. #Golden Child Syndrome trended for the 3rd day in a row. More survivors spoke up. More stories surfaced. People tagged me, emailed me, thanked me for breaking the silence they'd been trapped in for decades. But I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The truth was no longer mine to carry. It had become everyone's. One evening, as the sky turned lavender and quiet, my phone buzzed. A new message. From Emily. Subject, I'm sorry. Body. I didn't know how much I was hurting you. Please, can we talk? Just once? I stared at it for a long time. Not out of temptation, out of certainty. Then I pressed delete. The book hit shelves in October. The Forgotten Sister wasn't just a memoir. It was a reclamation. A blueprint for those who had lived in the shadows of golden siblings in houses where love was a currency, and they were always broke. I wrote every word in the voice I had once been told to silence. Within a week, it climbed the New York Times bestseller list. By the end of the month, it was on the shelves of therapists, teachers, shelters, and churches. It became a conversation starter in households that had never allowed honest conversations to exist. I started receiving letters, emails, voice messages, survivors reaching out with trembling gratitude, parents who recognized themselves in the wrong ways, siblings who were finally saying, "I'm sorry." And then invitations came, conferences, panels, mental health summits. I stood on stages with spotlights that didn't burn, but warmed. My voice, once shaky and unsure, now filled auditoriums. I talked about covert abuse, emotional manipulation, and the long, quiet ache of being unseen. I told the truth, not to shame, but to free. Lauren stood by my side through it all, no longer a ghost from a forgotten chapter, but a full, vivid presence. We weren't just sisters by blood now. We were survivors, mentors, mirrors. We rented a small place on the coast, a few hours from the city, a quiet haven with white walls and sea air where we painted again. She took up photography. I wrote. Sometimes we said nothing at all because we didn't have to fill the silence to feel safe. One morning, as I was sorting through the mail, I found a small, handwritten envelope, no return address. Inside was a letter, carefully written in pink pen on unicorn stationery. "Dear Amanda, my name is Lily. I'm 12. I read about you in the library. I know you're famous now, but I just want you to know. I get it. My birthday was last week. Everyone forgot. Again. I made my own cupcake, but it's okay now, because I know I'm not the only one. You helped me feel like I matter. Love, Lily." I held the letter to my chest and cried, not because I was sad, but because the ripple had reached shore. That month, I launched the Lighthouse Center, a support hub for survivors of emotional neglect, gaslighting, and invisible trauma. We offered therapy, peer groups, legal guidance, and art programs. We didn't just help them heal, we helped them rebuild identities. I didn't hate my family anymore. Hate had been too heavy to carry. Understanding weighed less and hurt more in a useful way. Forgiveness wasn't a door I walked through for them. It was a key I forged for myself. At my first official book launch, the room was full. Strangers, readers, friends, fellow survivors. Even Ethan was there, clapping in the back row. And then I saw her, my mother. She stood near the entrance, holding a copy of the book, spine uncracked. She looked smaller somehow, older, more brittle than cruel. I walked over. She opened her arms. I shook my head gently. "I'm glad you came," I said, calm. "But I don't need that anymore." Her arms dropped, her eyes welled up. "Amanda, please." I placed my hand on hers. "This isn't rejection, it's a boundary. I hope one day you learn the difference." Then I turned and returned to the podium. That night, I walked the beach outside our cottage. The moon painted silver trails across the water. I kicked off my shoes, let the cold sand touch skin that had once known only tight heels and silent rooms. Lauren joined me, camera swinging from her shoulder. "Do you feel free?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. I just laughed, a deep, full laugh that echoed across the empty shore like music no one had to earn. "I do," I said at last. "For the first time, I do."